Free agency isn't here yet. The draft process is really just getting started for a lot of us. Hell, the Super Bowl hasn't even happened yet. Leave your predictions down below. You got the Kansas City Chiefs, you got the Philadelphia Eagles. Comment your answer. But I think even with all of that, we're still so early. We haven't even started the 2025 process yet. I think the Cowboys have given fans at least a little something to be excited about in 2020. I was furious over the Schottenheimer hire, but ever since then, I think that this franchise has actually built a really incredible staff, and the plan for this team moving forward is very clear. Yesterday, the Cowboys hired a guy who has quietly become one of the top offensive line minds in the country in Connor Riley. I think there was some speculation out there that could be Clayton Adams because he was an offensive line coach in Arizona, that maybe as the offensive coordinator, he would act as the offensive line coach as well. Since he isn't the play caller, it's certainly plausible that that's what they could have done, but it gets even more exciting because now Adams can really focus on being an offensive coordinator, a game planner, and then you have an offensive line coach that can coach the offensive line. So they announced the hiring of Connor Riley. And you might not know the name, but trust me, this dude has built some of the most dominant offensive lines at every level in his career. From small college coaching gigs to the offense at Kansas State with Deuce, Vaughn, and Cooper Beebe, Riley's impact has been really, really impressive. And before we talk about him, before we talk about his career path, how he got here, his credentials, because that's probably what a lot of you want to know, where did this guy come from? Let's talk about the Cowboys' plan. And I think it's set up in 4 parts. So number 1, run the ball. That's self-explanatory at this point. Brian Schottenheimer talked about balancing the run game and the pass game. Brian Schottenheimer, as a play caller, loved to run the football. They hired Clayton Adams, an offensive coordinator, or the offensive coordinator for the Cowboys, an offensive line coach in Arizona, somebody that has put together extremely innovative and good run games in Arizona. I was watching podcasts about how upset they were that Clayton Adams was going to be going and moving on. So that makes me feel really good about the hire, but you add Connor Riley to that, somebody that really fixed run games every single place he's gone. So obviously objective number 1 is run the ball. Objective number 2, fix the offensive line. I don't think that Mike Solari was a very good offensive line coach. The Cowboys line with Zach Martin, I know he's getting up there in age, was fighting through injuries, but he was declining. Terrence Steele didn't look that great. I'm not sure that Cooper Beebe really developed in the way that we could have expected him to. Tyler Smith is obviously Tyler Smith, and then Tyler Guyton just wasn't good. It didn't seem like he got better throughout the year. And that falls back on the coaching staff. It falls back on Mike McCarthy hiring Mike Solari to be the offensive line coach. That unit just wasn't good. So bringing in Riley, bringing in Adams, 2 guys that are teachers, that are innovative, that understand the game in 2025, bringing them in, having them coach the offensive line, I think it's going to go a long way into fixing that unit. That it desperately needs it. You need your first round pick, Tyler Guyton, to play well. If Zach Martin is back, you need him to play better. Terrence Steele, another year removed from his injury, which shouldn't really be a factor right now, but making him play better is certainly going to be huge for this team. And both of those roll into their 3rd objective, and that is protecting Dak Prescott, protecting their $60 million asset. And people are going to look and be like, you shouldn't have to protect your $60 million quarterback. Look what the Eagles are doing with Jalen Hurts. Look at his turnover numbers. Look at his injury history. What do? They put him behind a really good offensive line. They sign a top-tier running back. They run the ball for over 2,000 yards, and they're in the Super Bowl because of it. Just because you want to protect your quarterback, and that's what the Cowboys seem like they're wanting to do, it doesn't mean that your quarterback's not good. It just makes sense to not want him to throw the ball 45 times a game. And maybe it's not just about protecting Dak. If Cooper Rush had a good run game, I suspect that he would be better because last year, Dallas had him throwing the ball 45 times because they couldn't do anything on the ground. Plan, run the ball, fix the offensive line, protect Dak Prescott, and number 4, balance this offense. They were so bad under Mike McCarthy and Mike Solari. That run game just got worse and worse and worse year over year. Ever since McCarthy took over the play calling, ever since Solari got here, the ground game just died. Way too much inside zone. They weren't stretching the defense, making the linebackers run, making guys think with motion, actually testing a defense in really any way. It was boring and it was stale. And I honestly think that was the job pitch when Brian Schottenheimer went in for an interview. He probably looked at the Joneses and said, we're going to build a staff and a team that can run the ball. Look at Dak Prescott. He's had 2 season-ending injuries. He's getting a little bit older. I'm not going to say he's old, but you have him throwing the ball 45 times a game. We can't run the ball. I don't think Mike Solari was very good. Mike McCarthy's run schemes were stale. We're going to build this thing back up. We're going to run the ball. We're going to protect your Jerry Jones $60 million quarterback, and he will be better because of it. And we complain about Jerry Jones, how they operate day to day, but it does make sense that you would like that pitch. So one more quick thing before we talk about Riley's career and his dominance in college football. I think there's one person that benefits the most from this other than Dak Prescott, obviously, and it might be Deuce Vaughn. Now, he has someone in his corner that knows what he's capable of. Connor Riley was a coach at Kansas State with Cooper Beebe and Deuce Vaughn. So it makes sense that now he has someone in his corner that knows what he's capable of, knows what he can do, knows what works well for a guy like him and his style of running the ball. And I wouldn't be surprised at all if Deuce Vaughn gets legitimate opportunities to win a job in 2025. Now, I'm not saying that he's going to be the RB1, but he might factor into this team a little bit more or a lot of bit more than we saw with Mike McCarthy, because Mike had no idea what to do with this guy. So really quick, some stats on Connor Riley. Football season might be winding down, but that doesn't mean the action has to stop. BetUS has you covered with everything from NBA, NHL to college hoops, UFC, and even soccer. So if you've got a feel for the game, why not put it to the test? There's always something to bet on, and the possibilities are endless. And here's the best part. When you sign up, BetUS hooks you guys up with a 150% deposit bonus on your first deposit, and then keeps the momentum going with 125% bonuses on your next 2. That's a serious boost to keep the action rolling no matter the season. Whether it's the thrill of a buzzer beater, a last-second goal, or a knockout punch, BetUS makes every game feel like the biggest of the year. Why let the fun stop with football? Sign up today, snag those bonuses, and keep the momentum going all year long. Thank you to BetUS for sponsoring today's video, and please remember to bet responsibly. In 2013, he joined North Dakota State as the tight ends and fullbacks coach, but by 2014, he took over as the offensive line coach there, and this is where he really started to dominate. In 2014, the Bison's offensive line paved the way for John Crockett's school record 1,994 rushing yards in a season. North Dakota State's offensive line ranked first in the FCS in fewest tackles for loss allowed. People were not getting into the backfield. They were not having negative runs like we saw with this team all of 2024. Then in 2015, North Dakota State led the nation in time of possession because they were running the hell out of the ball. In 2016 and 2018, North Dakota State's offensive line ranked in the top 10 nationally in fewest sacks allowed. And that goes back to protecting Dak Prescott. He isn't just a run game guy. He understands pass protection, pass sets, how to coach that up. Dak needs it. This organization desperately needs it. Okay, he ranked in the top 10 nationally. They could run the ball. He was actually developing guys, making guys NFL players. He coached a former walk-on who became an All-American left tackle in a 2016 NFL draft pick. I can't remember his name, but I will put it up on the screen. In 2018, the Bison set a school record with 4,293 rushing yards, one of the most dominant rushing seasons in FCS history. And over that tenure in North Dakota State, he won 5 national championships. 5. So after that incredible stint in North Dakota, he moved to Kansas State in 2019, where, of course, he helped lead the nation in red zone offense with K-State at 96.2% scoring. In 2021 at Kansas State, the Wildcats ranked 3rd in school history in yards per play with 6.3. In 2022, Riley's line helped K-State win the Big 12 title, rushing for 208.3 yards per game, their highest national ranking since 2003. I think you guys are starting to see a little bit of a pattern, and it's not fluky to say that this guy understands offensive line play. The proof is in the pudding. This guy dominates every single place he goes. And then in 2023, as the offensive line coach again, Kansas State ranked 10th in scoring offense, 11th in rushing yards per game, and 12th in rushing touchdowns in the nation. He was dominating, and his work developing talent was next level at Kansas State as well. Cooper Beebe was one of his standout players. He won Big 12 Offensive Lineman of the Year in 2023 and 2024, and he became just the 5th player in conference history to win that award twice. Then in 2024, Riley was named Kansas State's offensive coordinator, and he actually got to call a game as the OC in 2023 against NC State in the Pop-Tart Bowl, where the Kansas State offense racked up 257 rushing yards and 435 total yards in the game against a top 25 defense. I wanted to get through that. I wanted to give you something to be excited about, because I know we're not going to be excited watching the Eagles play in the Super Bowl, but I'm actually really excited about this hire. I think it adds to what Dallas is really setting themselves up for and what they could potentially do with the 12th overall pick. I mean, Brian Schottenheimer loves to run the ball. Clayton Adams loves to run the ball. He had a great run game in Arizona. And now Connor Riley, someone that has worked with offensive linemen for nearly 2 decades now, but he's not an old guy, and dominates everywhere he goes. So I'm really interested to see what happens when Ashton Jeanty falls to 12. I just cannot imagine Brian Schottenheimer sitting there and wanting to pass on getting a running back, knowing what they've built up to this point. All 3 of those guys are going to be pounding the table, begging this organization to take maybe the best player in the draft. I know for certain top 5. Don't be surprised if maybe during free agency, definitely during the draft, that this run game is going to be a major point of emphasis for this entire organization. That's all I got for you guys today. Just wanted to give you a little rundown. I hope you enjoy the Super Bowl as much as you possibly can. Can it somehow end in a tie? Can we do that? Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed, please be sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. I love you all.